This is Trophy Gold, the Croatoa, Part 2. You are all currently in a cabin that was previously occupied by the bounty that you have already accomplished, and you just need to return with said bounty's head to get paid. You have no food, very little at least. You have been visited by a god, apparently, and your current set goal is to either last another night or brave the winter storm that is set in. And so that's sort of where things are at. Just to give you a quick lay of the land in terms of the cabin itself, as a reminder, Sindhu's personal effects are there. You've already gone through those. There's actually a locked chest in the room too. We forgot about that. I mean, I mentioned it, but no one ever followed up on it. But there is a locked chest in that room as well at the foot of the bed. There is also a trap door underneath the rug, which is locked from the other side. And you have heard a number of at least 12 entities scratching down below in the space beneath the cabin. Presumably the trapdoor leads to that. This godling, Oren, is really interested in going in the trapdoor. This godling, Oren, also had some sort of guardian or henchman that you've all dispatched. And now I think nighttime is settling in, and you're having to basically, it's not too late to go brave the storm, but if you don't want to brave the storm, you're going to have to survive the night. And so that's sort of where things are at. Taking a look at everyone's character blocks, you still have to beat your burdens by the time this is over, so don't forget that. And right now, Arnau has 1 token and 4 ruin. Lysander has 2 tokens and 2 ruin. Horagest has no tokens and 5 ruin. And Sister Reina has 2 tokens and 4 ruin. Once you have survived the night and or safely navigated the blizzard, you're moving on to the next part of the adventure. So bear that in mind as well. And so, if there's no other questions, we shall just settle right into it. So you're at the cabin. Oren's not around, he escaped. And you all have learned a fair amount about his origin or possible origin. His motives are still a little unclear, apart from opening that trap door. So role play.
What's in that chest? We never really searched the chest. And we must have shoved it off to the side and forgot about it.
It's locked, so maybe the fact that it's locked is why you haven't tampered with it yet. So,
is anybody good at tampering with lock?
Well, we have someone who has been wanting to open this trapdoor since we have been here. Why don't we let them open the chest instead?
I'm sure I can get it open if need be.
yeah, do you have a relevant skill?
Let's take a look. Athletics?
I think that would probably work. As long as like you're fairly strong. I think as long as you'll have time to do it, you should be able to open it. So the chest is before you do that, I'll just tell you that the chest is fairly unremarkable. It's a sort of wood chest banded with iron, and it has a fairly simple lock mechanism. Anything else you want to know?
Is anyone an expert in traps? I don't want this thing to explode in my face if I open it.
I'm an expert in setting traps, but I'm not very good at disarming them.
I can do both forensics and surgery if we need this afterwards, but I will not be any help right now.
Wonderful.
I might be able to take a look at the lock, and I won't be able to disarm it, but I might be able to appraise what sort of lock it is. Is it crude? Is it intricate, where it might have like springs or something?
That's pretty good. I like that. Yeah, make a 2-die hunt roll. That's a 4, so you are getting a token and encountering something terrible. The lock is unremarkable, fairly straightforward. It's probably, I mean, honestly, a good heavy blow with something like a maul would probably undo it. But the thing you'll notice is that around the edge of the U-shaped part of the lock, and indeed around the gap between the lid and the chest, there is what appears to be a fine purple powder, like spores.
Mind this part here, Arno, and maybe disassemble the bottom.
Well, yes, I'm glad you spotted that. My plan was to take some tool and smash it open, but yes, perhaps there's a better way.
It may not be a trap, it might just be rot or something like that, right?
Yeah, I just don't want to be incautious. Help me turn it over, Lysander, and we'll see if we can smash it open from the bottom.
In case these are spores, maybe we should use like some kind of face covering so we don't breathe them in.
Or we should carry it outside.
I'm caution, I think, is the word of the day, Arno.
I agree. Let's take it outside. Tie something around our faces, and then we'll see if we can smash our way in through the wood.
Yeah. Covering your faces, taking it outside, you can smash it open. And indeed, there would have been a deadly cloud of spores, but this was the right way to handle this. And so they just dissipate harmlessly. And inside the chest, you find a single use of additional equipment. So you can just pick something from the list and put it in your found equipment, as well as a crown made of smoky black crystals woven in bands of tarnished gold. Because you have the appraisal skill, that's worth 2 gold, which is a lot of money.
I am so glad you did not smash it enough to smash this crown. This is worth a pretty penny, Arno.
Looks cursed. It's probably cursed. You'll be rich or dead.
Right, nobody put it on. Nobody put on the crown. That's the new rule.
It may well be cursed, but I have no intention of putting it on.
I assume you're all going back inside. You're not gonna be able to stay out much longer because of the storm. So
yeah,
we grab it and go.
what are you taking from the equipment list?
I'll turn that over to you, Arno, and we can put the crown in a group pot.
I just need to know who's holding the crown. So
Eesh.
well, it's not necessarily because of the curse or anything, just because I want to know
I'll take it for now.
who could lose it. So,
Yeah.
Does it have anything written on it, Jason? Like, is there any runes or anything etched on it?
make a hunt roll.
I will, and I do have like rituals, so I'm sort of, I imagine I'd be semi.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
to do
Go ahead.
that.
Yeah.
I got a 3, so that was absolutely better than not doing anything.
I will tell you that the crown does have some markings on the inside. They are very ancient, not easy to read. And it seems that the crown belonged to an ancient sorcerer queen whose name is long forgotten.
Is it Caldori, the runes? Like,
Yes.
is it that kind of, and I think Hargast is like, don't put it on. Absolutely, under no circumstances. I said, in fact, don't touch that with your skin. Don't look at it. Don't touch it. Don't wear it.
I'm not quite the fool you take me for, Horrorgast. Let the fool who buys this from me back in Fort Durin put it on.
You're just the chrysalis stabbing transcendental ascendance denying kind of fool, that's Toronto.
Yes, the kind of fool that saved you from whatever that was that had trapped you. But yes, of course, I'm sure no thanks will be coming my way.
Sister Rana, what are you doing in the meantime? Sister Rana, what are you doing in the meantime?
I think I'm watching our friend. You know, the young man.
No, he escaped. He's gone.
Oh, he did go. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought that we okay. No, so okay. I think Sister Rena is kind of practically kind of doing an inventory, like how much food do we actually have now that he's gone, and how, like, when will the situation become dire? How many how much time can we stay here in the blizzard? When do we actually have to go down in the trapdoor to see whether there is any food, that sort of thing?
I think you can probably, I mean, I'll tell you that it's looking pretty dire as far as that goes. You have shelter as long as you stay in the cabin, but you don't necessarily have food. And I think that you all will be okay for the night, and you probably wouldn't be able to, you know, if you were to stay for a couple more days, it might start to get a little tight, right? So. I wouldn't say there's anything pressing about going down into the basement as far as that goes, unless you think, especially if you think you can like hunt food or something along the way, right? So.
Yeah, I think so. So probably Sister Rena standing by the window and kind of looking out whether the blizzard is continuing and whether there's any, like, are there any animals to be seen trekking through the snow, kind of trying to get shelter from the blizzard, something like this. Because if there were any animals kind of passing by, then that might be something that she might be interested in.
Yeah, I think it's just probably too hard to tell because it's getting dark and the storm is so bad. So, in any case, what's next? Are we just bedding down for the night?
No, I think as long as we're in a smashing mood, maybe we just, on the off chance that there's something edible down there, we can at least sleep tonight if we take care of whatever it is in the basement.
Finally, someone talking sense. Let's get this thing open.
So let me get this straight. We know that there's a godling who specifically tried to beguile us to get into the basement, and the scratching things, at least 12 of them, also not people, underneath, and you want to open it?
Precisely.
Yes, or a guest. I would rather deal with something that I know on my own terms rather than have it surprise me at an unwanted moment.
Well, we're probably going to die of starvation anyway, so I'm sick of fighting with you people. If you want to die, go ahead, but you're going down first.
That goes without saying.
Wrenching up the trapdoor is no trouble as long as you have a relevant piece of equipment. If somebody can give me a crowbar or something similar, getting in is no problem.
We lost something took them all away, right? So we can't
Don't
use
have them
that.
all, yeah.
I have iron spikes and a mallet. I have empty equipment slots. Either one's fine by me.
Yeah, maybe just like find a crowbar or something that one of you
Yep.
brought in additional equipment. That'll be enough.
I think that makes sense. Makes sense as something that Anna would have.
You're able to eventually, with some effort, bust it open. They did, whoever it was, did chain it locked from the underneath. And unless there's some other way out, that person or their remains are still down there. But there's a ladder going down. Do we have some sort of light source?
I have 3 torches that I took from Sindhu's backpack,
Very good.
and I'll use one of those torches.
Do
I also
you
have some torches from a previous use of equipment slots. So yeah.
one will
And
do.
I have-
One torch is fine.
I've got geodes as well, so I've got one that doesn't smoke if we need it.
Very good. One torch should do it. If you're going to be down there for a long time, maybe something less smoky would be good. But who's going down first?
I will.
I'm climbing right down with the torch in one hand.
Horagest and Sister Reyna, are you going down?
Our guest is very pointedly going last, but is convinced that he owes Arno at least not being eaten by a thing he's repeatedly warned him will eat him. So he's going to go last, but with his geode.
I think this means that because Sister Rena would again kind of be letting the other three, they seem to be this kind of trio that has joined. So she's kind of attempting to let them go first, the three of you, and then when Horagast kind of also tries to stay back, I think it's just back and forth, like who's now going down, and then at some point, Sister Rena just shakes her head and kind of goes down and leaves you the last spot.
The space underneath is bigger than the house, bigger than the cabin. Not much, but it's a bigger space. If the cabin is 2 bedrooms, this is like 3 bedrooms, but it's just one big wide open space. And as you go down and you flash the torch around to see what you can see, you see 12 people, statues possibly. They're very, very still, and they all look to be made of stone by their coloring. No, nothing particularly unifying about their dress or their appearance, but these 12 people are all standing stone still, facing the wall, lined up around the wall. And on the far end of the space, someone has written in big, heavy, dark strokes, possibly with charcoal or something, "Do not trust he who walks among the stones."
Well, there appears to be no food, fellas. So let's get back up this ladder and see if we can seal this door.
You think these 12 were the cause of the noises we heard? Horagest, what do you make of these things?
If I had to guess, I'd guess they are also not people and they're also not statues, because this is what always happens when you go into basements.
Sister
They're the
Reyna,
ones.
Sister Reyna, there's a crumbling sound coming from the statue you're standing closest to, and you see bits of flecks of slate and rock crumbling off of an arm, landing on the floor.
I think she puts her hand on her sword and says, "Something is waking up here."
Lysander
The
up
ladder.
ahead. Lysander up ahead, another one of the figures. You see flecks of stone and rock crumbling off of its cloak and hitting
Perhaps
the
for
ground.
once Horagest was right. I suggest we get out of here.
I will write you a full letter of apology once we're at the top of the ladder, Horagest.
Can I, as we sort of retreat towards the ladder, can I use my attunement to try and tell if they're actually made of stone or if they're just in the semblance of stone?
They are made of stone, yeah.
This is my ironic contrapasso death, killed by things of stone.
You can all get back up the ladder. What do you do once you're back up in the cabin?
Look for any way we can block the hatch. Can we drag? There was a bed next to it. Can we drag that on top of it?
I threw the mattress out, but the frame is still there.
Right.
I don't know if the frame would be heavy enough against the combined efforts of these things trying to come up the ladder. I do think that if you have chain and lock, you can just lock it up from the outside.
We still have Hargest's padlock, which we just took off, so we can put it back on again.
Could we also somehow, I don't know what the ladder is attached to. Could we kind of break the ladder away from the hatch maybe?
Oh yeah, you can knock the ladder down. Yeah.
Or pull it up?
Which do you do?
Pull it up,
Pull it up.
and then let's close this hatch any way we can.
Sister Rena is standing by, sword drawn, kind of idly on the tip on the floor.
Well, the padlock will do. You can lock it back up so that it can't, or at least that'll probably hold it. And then if they can't climb up there, that will also help quite a bit. But you do hear them. You do hear them shaking off whatever stupor they were in, and they're moving about down there, and they're scratching.
Well, this won't make for a restful night's sleep, but I don't think we're going anywhere until morning at the earliest. Let's get a fire going, set some watches, and make the best we can of it.
We should also be preparing to trek out into the snow, and maybe with we dismantle this ladder, we can use the steps for firewood, and then use the whatever's left. We can wrap up the rungs and carry for firewood on the trip, and maybe use the part of the ladder to like dig through the snow. But I'm going to spend some time prepping for that.
I would also like to just go and scout slightly outside, just cast a glance and see if there's any sign of anything coming
Make a
or
hunt roll.
approaching from outside. I don't want to be taken by surprise. Would defense apply there?
Oh, defense. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. I got 6 on the hunt roll.
Take your token. You don't see much in the storm, but you do see Oron about 100 paces away, just standing there, mostly unclothed, just staring at the cabin.
Out of voice range, I'm imagining at 100 paces.
Especially with the storm, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just sort of meet his eyes for a moment and then go back inside. He who walks among the stones is out there. He's watching us.
He seemed like he got along with you, Arno. I mean, I'd hate for you to end up in the basement as a stone statue, but do you think it'd be worth you giving him a hello or a parlay?
If he comes any closer, I don't want to seek him out in the storm. He seems able to weather it far better than I'm able to. It doesn't seem to be affecting him whatsoever.
Who's first watch?
I can take. We should do double watches again, I think. But I can do first watch as I'm prepping our just some make do snow gear.
I'll take first watch with you. Yeah.
Very good. And I'd like to get a sense of where everyone is in the cabin. Who's in the front room? Who's in the back room? The fire, of course, is in the front room.
I think Sister Rena is sitting beside the trapdoor and looking at it, kind of watching it, and kind of leaning against the wall, half sleeping, but kind of keeping watch on the trapdoor. Yeah.
think our guest is gonna just stare at the trapdoor as well and say, I told them this would happen. This was obviously going to happen. No, don't listen to the geomancer about the rock, the things under the ground. Just don't listen. Don't listen.
Lysander and Arnell, the first watch is going fairly unremarkably. When you see quite suddenly Oron standing in the front room. He is not wearing anything. He looks particularly radiant and golden. And he puts his finger up to his lips and says, "Shh." And he's turning and walking toward Horagast. What do you do?
Well, I look at Arno and I say, I mean, what do we, hey.
I'm gonna bar his way, prevent him from sneaking up on Horagast. I'll step in between.
He puts his hands on your cheeks and pulls your face close and whispers in your ear, "I would have you worship me."
What use could I be to you?
He's trying to just push you aside.
I'm gonna in a loud voice say, hey, please don't wake up our friends. They're sleeping.
Horagast and Sister Reyna, you do wake up. Horagast, Oron is on top of you. Arnau, Oron's nowhere where you expected him to be anymore. He's physically on top of you. And he says, "I am he who walks among stones. I would walk among you. I would have you worship me. In exchange for your tribute, I will ease your mind and burden."
How are you with degenerative illnesses of geomancers? I've been looking for a patron. I'm willing to make a trade, but I think you're more interested in killing people, actually. You look a little bit like a scary god, not a nice one.
He has a small smile on his face. And he just sort of like puts all of his weight on you. And he says, "All you have to do is dedicate yourself to me, and you will benefit from my divine touch."
What's your agenda? You obviously have an agenda. How about as a trust
puts his
building
finger
exercise?
He puts his finger on your mouth and says, "Do not speak, act."
Is this in the same room that Sister Rena is in?
You're all watching this.
Okay, yeah. Because I think she kind of quickly wants to get up and say something like, "I've had enough of ghosts and the last time." And she kind of tried to push Arndt off.
He stands up and says, "I am no ghost. I am as real and hot and warm-blooded as you, perhaps even more so. And you can feel the warmth radiating off of him.
No one is going to worship you. Worship is due only to the sisters.
We already have day jobs. Oren, we wouldn't be much use.
He takes a heavy sigh. Then I'm afraid your presence here is a blasphemy, and I must destroy you.
Let's draw the swords.
Are you going to battle him?
Well, if he's as alive and as hot-blooded as we are, that means we can spill it.
Say how you're vulnerable and a weak point.
My weak point is I'm immortal.
I'd
Yeah, I
like
think-
to. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, Arno's vulnerable because he's he's seen how the storm doesn't affect this creature. He's afraid that his weapons, such as they are, won't affect it either.
Haragest is going to stay out of combat and attempt to find a way to use his astrolabe to send the god to Averoin, where we don't have to deal with him.
This is good because the creature is, Oron is a 13 endurance, meaning unless you find a way to lower the endurance, you cannot beat him in combat. But Horagest's plan might be an effort to do that. Horagest has to do a risk roll first, in order, with the result being lower the endurance to 12. How are you? What does this ritual look like?
I think essentially I'm going to touch the astrolabe to my arm, which is also of Averoin, and I'm going to grab him with it, and I'm going to try and essentially phase him out of this dimension and into another. And I learned a little bit from the Swirling Court about dimension shifting, so I'm just going to basically try and phase him and possibly my arm and possibly the astrolabe into another world by channeling through it.
That's a different action. I think that is a risk roll. It's a dangerous risk roll, but I think it would, if it works, it works, right? And you don't have to combat him at all. So, what could go wrong, group?
It takes his arm. That seems pretty obvious that his arm phases.
Yeah.
Or all of him. Just takes him and Oren together.
Given I'm on Ruin 5, I mean, it actually is like going for fairly like bad things like that is probably a good idea.
I think it could. I mean, I think it could just fail, and you are all on the back foot as you have to fight him. So,
Yeah, right. It's just the time it takes is way more than Oren gives you to do it.
I think the things in the basement could get loose.
that would be tragic. This is wildly dangerous, Horgust, because you have 5 ruin. So you have rituals and sacrifice, for that matter. You have your light die. What about Devil's Bargains? I think Devil's Bargain, no matter what, your arm is gone.
No matter what, the astrolabe's gone.
I was thinking something along the lines of, no matter what, Oren is going to show a particular interest in Horagest from here on out. He's going to follow him, or
Yeah, because you're not dispatching, you're not like destroying him, right? You're just getting him out of the way.
Yeah, even if it
temporarily.
succeeds, once he finds his way back, he'll look for Horrorgast.
Yeah, I'm guessing putting a god into another dimension is a bit like throwing someone out of a moving car. It's not really like getting.
Any other offers? So what do you think, James?
I just think, yeah, like I think everything disappears into Averoin, including possibly Horrorgast if it all goes wrong. I mean that's both the astrolabe and the arm as those two devil's burgers.
You have 2 light dice, and I think a dark die is automatic here. So go ahead and roll risk 2-1. If you get a 6 dark, your character is lost.
Oh, yes! I got a white 6.
Very good, very good.
Good job,
Tension-
man. Good job.
The tension was real for a moment. Do describe fortune favors the bold. Do describe how you dispatch Oron.
Well, I think as he sort of gets hotter and hotter and brighter, Horrorgast says, "There's another place for you. We may not be able to kill you, but you're going somewhere else. And I think there's a family of people there that you'd love to meet." And he goes up and puts the astrolabe and sets it to the star constellations of Averoin and starts chanting and then his arm glows and glows and once again starts burning his fabric, and it goes absolutely white hot and starts melting all the glass and brass and the astrolabe melts into his shoulder, and just as it's about to kill him, Oren just gets brighter and brighter like the sun, and everyone shouts and has to shield their eyes, and then just in a massive flash, Horrorgast falls back with his arm smoldering, his arm socket just burning, and there's a massive scorch mark on the ground, and everyone's vision's just dancing with pinpricks behind their eyelids because of this almost solar level flash of light, and he's gone.
Very good. The night will otherwise pass unremarkably. It is the next morning. The weather is calm. There are still 12 creatures down in the basement. You can still see the scorch marks where Oron was standing and the melted metal where Horrorgast was standing. Do you leave the cabin and press forward?
We have no food. We need to get out of here as best we can. We've accomplished the task we came here for.
What shape is Horrorgast in?
I think he's burnt. He's got basically all over, because the arm came all the way up to the top of the shoulder joint, and the whole of his shoulder is just flash burns, second and third degree burns, and he's been trying to treat it by I might put a sort of poultice or something in as my extra backpack equipment, but basically he's just burnt and scorched and bloodied looking, and shocked, almost dazed.
Could I make a more of a sled than a stretcher out of what I was working on with a ladder to move in the snow that we can put Horrorgast on to pull him out of here?
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm taking just whatever wood I could if we have to have some fire along the way. I've got whatever wood I can shoved in. I think there was an extra bag that Sindhu had. We'll just fill it up with as much wood as we can carry.
So, if there are no other things to do, You're back out in the wilderness. You're traveling for a time to get back to Fort Doran, foraging as you're able, catching small game as you're able. At a certain point, you decide to actually follow a road, which will be out of the way, but it's at least safer and less hostile terrain to have to deal with. And it is on this particular day that we pick up with. It's getting late. The sky is pink as the sun begins to drop behind the tree line. And up ahead, you see a scene. A young girl lying on the road, bleeding. And a little further up, an upturned wagon. An upturned wagon with a mule. Dead. If this is pushing on anyone's lines, if anyone's lines in the bales, just let me know. I don't know where a mule qualifies for domestic animals. But the young woman is bleeding out. There's an overturned wagon. There's been some kind of, something's happened here. Let's take a 5-minute break and we'll pick up with it. So just to remind you, there is a young woman bleeding out on the road, still alive because the blood looks fresh, as best you can tell in the low light, and she is moving a little bit. And there is an overturned cart and a dead mule. Sister Raina,
Mr.
what do you
Rainer,
do?
can you help this woman?
I will do my best.
And just for my own paranoia, how long has it been since Aaron like brought us some food? Like, did he smash these people and bring the bag, or is this?
Oh, I think you're pretty well far away from all that. You've been. We didn't specify how many days, but I think you've been on the road for a few days. So.
Okay.
Sister Raina, when you approach the young woman, she does have like a quite terrible like claw slash across her chest, and she's bleeding out from it. And she's holding it and she's writhing on the ground on her back. And she's like, please help me. Please help me. What do you do?
I take a good look at her, whether I feel that she is salvageable. I mean, I do have forensic herbs and surgery, so I should be able
yeah, you
hopefully
should.
to figure
You
this
can.
out.
You can save her. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can just do so, or should I? Do I have to roll for that?
I think as long as you just take the time to do it, you'll be fine. It's because you have surgery.
Okay, yeah.
If you didn't have surgery, I
Sure.
think it'd be
Okay.
more dangerous. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So
what's everyone else doing?
Stay
while that's
still.
going on? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go
I'll
ahead.
work on her. Yeah. So basically, I'll just tell her to don't move. I will take care of you.
She keeps, as you're working on her, she's gasping, my father, my father. What's everyone else doing?
Looking for whatever did this. So my sword is out, and I'm going around one side of the overturned wagon, looking off the road to see what could have hit him. And I don't know, Arno, are you?
I think I'm taking
actually, somebody needs to like stay by Sister Raina.
Yeah, I'm not going too far. I want to take a look at what the injuries on the mule look like, and just get an idea of what size of creature or threat we're dealing with.
Lysander, you can make a hunt roll. Is that your roll, the 5?
Yes.
All right, so you get a token. You do encounter something terrible. The thing you encounter that's terrible is that the overturned cart has crushed an older man to death. And you'll see similar claw marks on the neck of the mule. Whatever this thing is, it's powerful and very deadly. What are you doing in the meantime, Horrorgust?
I think Horrorgust is with Sister Raina, like helping with the surgery, and basically trying to like ask her questions, the girl, while Sister's operating on her about what happened.
She just keeps saying, I have to warn the others. I have to warn the others.
I guess I'll take a look around as well, like maybe look at the environs of the cart while Arno and Lysander are looking at the cart.
Yeah, I mean, Arno was doing the same thing. And I actually think I don't think there's anything else to learn, to be honest. You actually weirdly don't see any tracks of whatever did this, but it could just be because the earth is hard and cold. So it's kind of unclear as far as that goes. You mostly just start seeing the devastation. Sister Raina, by the time you get her stitched up enough to where she's not, bleeding out, she will sort of like get up and she'll see the man who's probably her father crushed underneath the cart, and she begins wailing. And then she says, I have to warn the others. I've got to warn the others. They must know. They have to know. And she's just marching off down the road. Like,
I think Sister Rena will grab her and say, sit down. You'll rupture your stitches and we will help you, girl.
She's like, no, someone has
rush.
to warn them. Someone has to warn them.
What did you see? What did this to you?
I don't know. I don't know. It happened so fast. It happened so fast. All I know is I felt pain, and I heard the mule cry, and the next thing I know,
where are these others you want to warn? Perhaps we can come with you.
This is my village, our village up ahead. And she's desperately trying to like get out of your grip to like go warn the village.
What do you think, Lysander? Should we go with her?
What's the largest flying creature in this area?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking like
Character,
the group, anybody. What's the largest flying creature in this area?
She's ignoring whatever you're saying and she's pressing forward down the road.
I've seen nothing larger than a crow on this entire cursed journey.
I'm just saying, if there's giant crows, this would be a good time to know.
We can't just let her wander into the snow by herself.
So let's try to go with her and slow her down and try to talk to her as she marches. Unless Sister Raina, unless you think we should just like tackle her and subdue her.
She will start bleeding again, but it seems that she doesn't want to be stopped. So let's follow her.
At the risk of sounding like I'm repeating myself, this was also not done by a person. Are we seeing a pattern here?
I think it's
my
clear
money
to
on
all of us,
giant crow.
Horrorgust. I think it's clear to all of us, Horrorgust, that this was not a person. That's not an issue. What's at issue is what we do to help this girl now.
Not get killed would be a good start. We can't be any use to her if we all get eaten. That's my opinion on this matter.
Are we going that way anyways, or are we back?
It is the direction you're going, yeah.
Okay, that takes some of the sting out of it.
By the time you all decide, she's out of sight.
I think Hargest is immensely suspicious, having just been through a thing where he thought everyone was against him and they were. So
We would follow while we would talk while we're following her. We wouldn't just let her walk off into the sunset.
By the time you reach her village, it is pretty well, I mean, we're deep into twilight, probably dusk at this point. It's pretty dark. And you'll see her up ahead, like walking into the village. And this village, you don't see anyone around, probably because it's late. There appears to be, just a glance from the moonlight, seems like there's maybe like a dozen or so homes, and then some bigger structures, a church looks like, which wouldn't be uncommon. What do you all do?
Where is the girl going?
She slips into like you see her, by the last time you see her, you just see her go into, like quickly go into one of the houses.
I want to see who she's talking to, what she's doing. I'm not sure if she's, while I want to help her, I'm also not sure she isn't leading us into a trap.
The village itself is surrounded by a rather short stone fence. It's only a 2-foot high stone fence. You can step over it. And in the center of the village, there is a large statue. It is very, very big. It's about 20 feet tall, of a faceless woman, sort of, her hands sort of like spread open to the sky. It's probably a depiction of one of the sisters. What do you all do?
Go.
Harrogate.
I'm
Sorry,
with Arno.
go on.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Hargest will be interested in this weird wall, this weirdly short wall.
It is very short.
And I'm going with Arno to the house that she went in. Let's see what she tells the village.
Sister Reyna. So Arno and Lysander are going into the village. Horagest is on the other side of the short wall, looking at the wall. What are you doing, Sister Reyna?
I want to know what kind of church it is that they have here.
So you're also going into the village as well. Very good.
Yes.
Arno and Lysander. As soon as you open the door to the house that you believe she went in, it's a little unclear. She could have gone into one of several based off the distance you were seeing her. As soon as you open the door, that stone wall instantly springs up to be 20 feet tall. And
So did she open the door before she spoke to anyone or anything?
as soon as you open the door, and the statue disappears. The wall gets tall, the statue disappears. Horagest, you're on the other side of the wall. Your set goal in the village: learn how to make your own snare.
Can I see the girl inside the house?
Make a hunt roll. Also, it's perfectly dark. There's no light on the house.
Oh, wonderful. I don't think I have any particular skills that apply here.
Everyone
I
loves a
can-
1 dice hunt roll.
Unless I can make an argument for tactics.
I can light up the other. I mean, I've still got 2 more torches. I
Oh, you
light
can
up
use the
torch.
torch, yeah, and use
Oh,
the,
okay,
use the
yeah.
torch and get a second
I
die.
can use a
yeah.
torch, yeah. Of course, I always forget you can use equipment as well. That's good because I would have got a 1 otherwise. I got a 5.
Very good. You get inside this little house, and these are not much bigger than that little cabin you were just in, but they're a little better made. This particular house, you'll notice as you went in that the house had a deer skull door knocker, which is an interesting detail. The house is otherwise fairly unremarkable. It's just a single large room with a bed and a table and a hearth fire. And in the corner of the room, there's a trapdoor. On the other side of said trapdoor, you hear scratching. Take your token. Lysander, what are you doing?
I kind of sigh and tell Arno, we're back into this one again.
This does look very familiar, yes.
Cue snowstorm.
Sister Reyna, you're going to the church. The church is... Look at the church. Give me just a moment. The church is the sort of church you might expect to find in a small village like this. There's just a very simple meeting house. There is a steeple rising up from the center of it with what appears to be a large bronze bell up in the steeple. Do you go inside?
Yes.
Inside, the thing you'll notice straight away is that the pews have all been pushed to the sides at strange, jagged angles. And there is a single large stained glass window at the far end, though it's too dark to see what's depicted in the stained glass. What do you do?
I think I walk closer to see if I can make out something.
In what?
Is there any light? Is there of the window? I think of the stained glass window. Is
No,
there any
you're-
light, like any candles, anything?
You'll need to make your own light source. It's perfectly dark.
Well, are there any statues or anything that I can see near the entrance or something? If not, I'm just gonna I'm gonna look and just gonna turn around because I have no light sources and no backpack slots. So she's probably is just gonna have a look inside and say,
You can make a one die hunt roll.
I should join the others.
You can make a one die hunt roll.
I will. 3.
You hear underneath the floorboards of this wooden church, you hear a voice of a child or a young woman, a young girl or a child, it's unclear. But they say, the voice underneath the church says, "There, there, pretty one, there, 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 dear heart. You'll be able to feed soon." Horrorguest, you're on the other side of this wall that's very tall now. What are you doing?
Are there any breaks in this wall?
There are not.
Well, I guess Hargest is going to be quite excited. He's like, well, a growing wall. I mean, could I be more qualified to himself? Could I be more qualified for this? and he's going to start running his hand and going, yes, excellent texture, well cut, and just start like attuning and like touching the wall and like caressing it like a rock weirdo.
Make a 2-die hunt roll.
Oh, I got a 6.
Take your token. The wall is not actually stone, even though it feels like it and looks like it. The wall is organic in nature.
Is it sort of fleshy?
No, it feels like rock.
Mm.
But whatever it is, it's alive.
Might try seeing what I can feed it that will pacify it so that it will make me an entrance.
Oh, it's getting ready to eat very soon, don't worry. So, Lysander and Arnau, what else are you doing in this one house you've walked into?
So there's no sign of anybody now. There's just a trapdoor.
There's just a trapdoor.
This is what I feared, Lysander. I think that girl was bait and the trap has been sprung.
What else is in what? So you described what was this is just like a basically the same size as the cabin, maybe a little bigger.
It's a little bigger, yeah, but it's pretty small, like just a little hut.
Well, what I'm tempted to do, Arno, and this is just my mean spiritedness coming out. What I'm tempted to do is to also set this bed on fire.
Sister Reyna, there are several other large structures in addition to the church. There is also a large windmill. There's a very, very large, what appears to be like a community storehouse. And there's a large scaffold where people would be hung. You'll notice those things as you're sort of looking around. They make a sort of situationally a sort of interesting semicircle around the rest of the village. Also, I'll remind you all that the statue in the center of the town disappeared when the trap was sprung. Yeah. So, Sister Reyna, what do you do?
I think she walks over to the execution space. I want to figure out how recently it was used, probably. Maybe using my forensics experience.
Yeah, I'll take that. You can take 2 dice. Yeah, go for it. It's an open space. You have enough moonlight to at least check things out.
5.
Take your token. You can smell a great number of rotted bodies underneath the trapdoor of this large gallows. But perhaps more interesting is that the crossbar, the beam and crossbar that makes up the gallows, you'll actually notice that this is not a simple wooden construct. There is something, there's machinery. Something here is mechanical. You notice gears and machinery where it should just be wood joined together. It's a strange thing. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that it looks like the hanging noose can be pulled like a lever. Meanwhile, Lysander and Arnau, the scratching underneath the trapdoor is getting a little more frantic.
Let's make sure that trapdoor is secure, Lysander.
I was just thinking about burning the whole place down, but Either we could secure it and then burn it down. I mean, I don't know.
That sounds good to me.
We're on it.
So what are we doing?
Dragging
Throwing
it
stuff
back.
over the trap door and setting things on fire.
Yeah.
Very interesting. You can put the bed over the trapdoor and you can light a fire. That's perfectly fine. As you do so, you start to notice that oily or wet excretions from around the house are dribbling down and putting the fire out. It's almost like the house is trying to prevent you from doing this.
Let's get out of here.
Yes, I agree.
But when you moved
Where
the
did the
bed,
others get to?
when you moved the bed, there was a chest underneath it.
There's time enough for this, I think, Lysander.
No. This could be what I like to call a trap inside of a trap inside of a trap.
That's as may be, but I owe money to people who will certainly ensure I end up in a trap if I don't have something to show for this entire.
I'll hold the door open and light your way with a torch, but we should get out and find the others. We gotta tell Sister Raina.
I'll try and drag the chest outside, but yeah,
It's very small. It's almost like someone put their personal effects in a little box, basically.
Okay.
It's open. You can open it.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look in that case.
Inside, there is a purse of silver worth 1 gold.
See, Lysander, that didn't take long.
No, but I'm just edgy.
You can just add gold to your gold counter. That's how we track money, coin money. As your Sister Raina, you will hear, well, you've already heard what you heard, Sister Raina, back in the church, and you also see this strange mechanical gallows. And Horagest, you are on the other side of the wall, and you know that the wall is organic matter of some sort, even though it has the appearance of rock. Arnau and Lysander, you will hear the girl. She's in the next house over. Looks like you just went into the wrong one, but you hear her crying, "Oh my God, how could this happen? Oh my God." She's in distress.
We head to that house. I do. Yeah.
Arnau?
I'll go with him, yeah. I'm very mistrustful about what's going on.
When you open the door, it looks very similar to what you saw before. The main difference being that the house itself has no tables or bed or any other furniture of any kind. It's just a bunch of chairs. It's almost like something that didn't really understand the purpose of furniture, just laid out a bunch of chairs.
Do we see people there?
No. There's a trapdoor in the corner of the room, though. Sister Raina, what are you doing right now?
I think Sister Raina is looking at that noose and will pull it.
When you pull the noose, the trap door where presumably falls open to hang people actually pops open the other direction, giving you access to the bottom. And you see the bodies down there. Horagest, what are you doing right now?
Sorry.
That's okay. Horagest, what are you up to?
I think Hargest trying to learn more about. So he's assuming that this wall is some kind of creature, and he thinks it's hungry, but he wants to try and figure out what it wants. Like, what's its goal? You know, why is it just hungry or what? You know, try and get some intel on how he could dissuade it from digesting his friends.
Interesting. How are you doing this?
Well, I guess actually I can't really use any of my geomancy if it's not actually made of stone. So I don't really know actually. I think I might just go the full circumference of the wall, just trying to look for any you know, anything I can find that would help me.
Take a hunt roll.
Yeah, I have construction, so I guess I'm trying to
take
like
that,
figure
yeah.
out what's going on. So
Yeah, I'll take
what
that.
would I got a 5.
Take your token. There are no breaks in the wall that would suggest that it's the kind of wall that's meant to allow passage to and fro. But you do see near the base of the wall at one point, you do find what appears to be a hole in the ground, a burrow of sorts. This appears to burrow underneath the village. What do you do?
I think it's a trap. I think something that is living and presents a hole is probably a mouth. So I think I'm just gonna like sort of stare into it and sort of shout into it and see if anyone responds.
There's no response. Sister Reyna, there are a lot of bodies down there. What do you do?
First of all, I look down there to see if I find anything interesting. I want to spend 2 tokens to find some valuable things
Very good.
among these bodies.
Of course. You will find give me a moment. You will find a pouch of silver worth 1 gold. So just note that. And you'll also find a person who was fondling, protecting, as if it was perhaps their most sacred possession, what appears to be a very beautiful, intricately wrought model ship. It's a wonder of construction and it's made very beautifully. It would sell for 1 gold. They're nursing it like a
yeah.
babe.
So she kind of pries these things from the hands of these dead buddies, and then she wants to look at them with her forensics expertise, because apparently, since the noose seems to be some kind of lever, it doesn't seem that these people were hanged. So how did they actually die? That's what she wants to know.
Make a make a hunt roll.
Five.
Take your token. These are not organically different people. How do you know that?
You mean they all look the same, or?
I don't know. You tell me.
Oh,
But
okay.
they're
Yeah,
not
okay.
different people.
Okay, whatever that means. I think it quickly becomes apparent.
I'll make it even more interesting. They're not real people. How do you know that?
Yeah. I think that this kind of fits with the direction I was going, because it seems that they all have like they all covered apart from their faces. They're all wearing like hats or kind of caps or whatever, but you can see their face, and there's like 2 lines going down their face with stitches. Each of the persons has like a similar line. These 2 lines going down their faces, stitched up.
Lysander and Arnau, you've seen everything you can see from just the other side of the door. From where you can't quite see in the shadows, you do hear the girl sniffling, whimpering. Do you go in to attend to her?
So we still have the torch. I think that lasts for a few hours.
Yeah, you have the torches. Yeah, you still have the torch.
Yeah, I would like to at least see if she really is there, but I'm starting to get the feeling that she is some kind of illusory bait or something. So I'm certainly not rushing to her aid, but
So can we're gonna, I guess I go into the room, but leave the door open.
As soon as you step into the room, the trapdoor flies open, and a large, a creature that is strangely segmented, has 4 limbs like a praying mantis, and a stretchy, toothy maw, bursts out of the trapdoor. It's quite long, and it just engages you in combat straight away. It is endurance 10. How are you both vulnerable right now?
Right off the bat, all I can fight it with is the torch. So I'm vulnerable in that the torch is my weapon.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I think we have no where to escape to. We're kind of stuck behind this 20-foot high wall and this thing has completely taken us by surprise. So
It's endurance 10. There's a special rule. If you don't destroy it in 1 round, it retreats into the trapdoor. Combat 2, please. And roll your weak points as well.
I got a 4 for a weak point. Shall I do the combat roll, Lysander?
You've got more of a pointy thing, but
Hey, look at that.
Hey, there you go. 4 4s, or well, the weak points were 4s, but the endurance is or the 2 dice for a 10, which is exactly what you need. You destroy it. Describe it.
Yeah, I think as it starts coming toward us, Arnau just grabs one of the chairs in the room and throws it towards its head, and it kind of gets tangled up in its 4 limbs, and he's able to just grab another chair and slam it down on its head as it's tangled with the first one. And I'll let Lysander jump in there with a finishing move, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I just start clubbing it with the torch, and then, careful not to put out the torch, I start stomping on it, whatever it looks vital, as I try to yank my sword out. But I think by then it's not moving.
Horror guest. The wall is 2 feet tall again.
I think I'm going to quickly jump over it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of rope over it before, I'm going to get a big enough piece of rope and put it over so that if it gets tall again, we can scale it.
Indeed. Sister Reyna, the bodies begin to rapidly putrefy and melt to nothingness. What do you
do? What else do I see down there then? Is this just like a storage, like a just one?
It's just a
space.
Yeah,
nothing.
just a space.
Okay. Yeah. Think then. I think so. Where the statue used to be is probably not too far from where I am.
The statue.
Okay, stand up. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think Cicerina wants to go there, see what is going on there.
Statue's back. The wall is lowered. Arnell and Lysander, as you step out, you notice these things as well. You'll see Horagest across the way. The village is not big. Horagest sort of stepping over the wall and trying to rig a rope in case something happens. Sister Reyna, as you approach the statue, what do you do?
Mm. I think she just starts to talk to it, saying, "What kind of charade is this? I've had enough with these sort of things." And she's just kind of murmuring and muttering and kind of talking like this, walking towards the statue.
There's no response. Horagest, once you're done with your preparations, what do you do?
I think because I saw the statue as well, I'm going to make a beeline for it and meet Sister Reyna and say, "This is the heart of the whole thing. If that's its skin, this is the middle. We must discover how to kill it."
Lysander and Arnell. Lysander, roll a gold 10, please. The creature left behind something worth 1 gold. What is it?
It's a it's like an eye. One of its eyes is actually some kind of gemstone.
As whoever's keeping that can add it to their found equipment.
I'll write it down.
Arnell, what are you doing right now?
I think call out to Sister Reyna and Horagest. We fought one of the things from under the trapdoors. If there are more of them, I don't think we should linger here.
So the set goal here is to set our own snare, right?
Learn how to
Something-
make your own snare. It may not have any meaning to you right now.
Yeah,
Maybe to catch the girl, maybe.
it seems to be something to do with what Sister Reyna found in the church, but I don't think Arnell has any knowledge of that at the moment.
I think Sister Reyna says to Horagest, there was something in the church. I don't have any light, so we should all go back there, see what we can find.
The statue, this is the key. There's something about this statue. You go look, I'm going to inspect it.
Sister Reyna needs a light source, apparently.
I'll go with Sister Reyna to the church with a torch.
I'll come too, I think.
At the church.
Keep low, Horagast, and don't draw any attention to yourself.
Would I do that?
At the church, now that you can kind of see the stained glass better, you see a stained glass depiction of the creature you just destroyed. And a stained glass depiction of the village. Except the village is like, the creature towers over the village. The creature towers over the village, and indeed it has appendages that are going underneath the village up into the houses.
What do you make of this? Are they sacrificing the inhabitants of this village, or is this entire village a trap to itself?
Let me think about some myth I might have read about back in my librarian days. Can I do that? Make a hunt roll with myths?
Yeah, I'll take it. Go for it.
Got a 6.
Take your token. Yes, there are stories about creatures that are able to shape the land to look like an enticement. Whole villages that are like a Venus flytrap.
That's some wacky evolution there, my friends. Or magic.
Sister Raina, did you tell them about the voice you heard underneath the floorboards?
I think she did, but not really in any detail. Just like there was some voice there, but like I said, I couldn't see. We should go and see what we can find out.
I'm suspect of anything. Like everything in this village is part of the creature, and maybe the voices in the woman are just things that it's picked up along the way to fool travelers. I don't know. The money that Arno found seemed real.
Is Horgas still examining the statue?
Yeah, so Horgus, how are you examining it?
Well, first thing, I would like to sort of manage to prize some things off the base worth 2 tokens, but
Very good.
I'm going to use construction to try and figure out, like, so if it's fake, if it's like a living thing, what kind of a thing is it, like within the village?
You can go ahead and make a 2-die hunt roll, and I'll give you your treasure as well.
I got a 5, so if I might use the token to, if I can get 3 tokens worth, if that's
okay. Sure, yeah, that's fine. I think that the statue probably is like is probably festooned with opals and other semi-precious gemstones, and if you take the time to pop all of them off, it'll be worth that much gold. It's a lot of money, but yeah, you can definitely pick it clean. Just increase your gold by 3.
But
to answer your question,
Yeah.
the statue can be toppled. The statue can be toppled over.
I'm absolutely going to set about trying to do that, but I haven't quite figured out my plan yet.
I think before people start to do this, I think Sister Rina said this might sound a bit surprising, but we could try to talk to it. I can make the statue talk, and maybe it can tell us something. Do you think this? What do you all think? Is this a good idea?
Yeah, because the alternative is us to either like bolt over the wall now that it's down, or try to get this Venus flytrap, and maybe we could make like some kind of dangerous poisonous fly to coax it to eat as our snare. But but anything you could get from it, Sister Raina, that would help us. If
this is really the core, then we should try it. And I think Sister Rina is going to start like taking out the face paint that she has and drawing some symbols on the statue. And I think I want to use the Enliven ritual, give flesh and breath to a human effigy, to give the statue life, and then talk to it, or we'll see whatever happens.
Yeah, what could go wrong here, group, with this Enliven ritual?
And it's a statue of a woman. Is that right?
It's a statue of one of the sisters. Anybody with a religious background I'll tell you who the sister is, but yeah, they're just like her arms are open, and they were previously covered in gemstones, but that's not the case anymore.
To me, the worst thing that can happen is it grabs you. You know, you animate it and then it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a golem now. You have to deal with it.
It goes full Ghostbusters too. That was going to be mine as well.
It sounds like we're all pretty settled on what could happen as far as bad things go. What about your dice, Sister Rena? Do you have a relevant die for the first light die, or a relevant skill or piece of equipment rather, or the environment?
Well, the face paint, maybe.
I'll take that. And
Last use.
Fair enough. And Devil's Bargains, everyone.
No matter what, the village is going to sense that we're trying to, like, we know it's secret, and it's going to become enraged and start sort of doing the village equivalent of thrashing around.
I was going
I'm
to
gonna say
go ahead. No matter what, the statue gives you a quest.
I was going to say no matter what, the statue gives you some dark secret, but I like the quest better. But
Yeah, I think no matter what, the Venus flytrap thing does not want you to do this.
I'll remind you, the statue is very big too. It's 20 feet tall. It's huge.
if it's not a giant, we're not fighting it. Let's
In any case, let's talk about your dice. Well, if you're going to accept one of those Devil's Bargains, Rena, let me know.
Yeah, I think the quest, maybe some sort of task. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
2 light, 1 dark. Go for it.
5 light.
5 light. The complication is going to be that the Enliven just doesn't last long. But what does it look like when it comes alive? Or just describe the ritual otherwise.
I think Sister Rena walks around after she painted these symbols, and then kind of in the same manner she was talking to it before, like this kind of impatient, so kind of way she says, well, either this is all a charade or something mysterious is actually going on here. So if there is, wake up now, talk to us.
It opens its eyes, and they're glowing. And it looks to the right over its shoulder in the direction of the house with the dead creature and says, "The evil of this place is dead." And then she looks at you. I was taken from a temple in Ambaret. I do not belong here. In the name of the gods, in the name of the gods, I compel you to return. Return me to my home. And then it just goes back to being a statue.
Well, now it seems we know where the statue wants to go. Does this mean anything to any one of you?
It means we're now tasked with dragging that statue all the way back to Amberette, it sounds like. Couldn't you enliven it so that it could walk back there itself?
Maybe after we've dealt with whatever is happening here, we should really go to the church. I heard a voice there.
Yeah, Sister Raina, we've heard voices too, and I think it's all a ruse, but
Yes, Lysander's right. The voices we heard seem to be trying to ensnare us into this place's trap. What is it you think you saw in the church?
Like I said, I didn't see anything. I have no lights. Let's go.
I think the rich priests back in Amberette would pay for that statue handsomely if we can figure out a way of dragging it back. It's worth a lot more than anything in this cursed village.
The statue did say that the evil here had been defeated, so perhaps we can spare a few moments to take a look.
Not a person, not a person. And he points at the statue, Hargest. Not a person. He points at the ground. Not a person. Nobody listens to me, and just sits there in front of the statue.
there was some other notable buildings too. There was a church. There's these houses. The gallows. What else?
A storehouse and a windmill.
Okay. If we can test out to see if this thing's dead, and check out some of these other buildings. We can. I don't know. I don't know.
Go to the storehouse, and at least if we're going to be in a trap, we could be in a trap with lots of good stuff to loot in it.
We are still hungry, so the storehouse and the mill seem like sensible places to search. But if Sister Raina is insistent on looking in the church, I'll go with her.
Yep, the church is closest. So, was there any doors when we looked inside with the torch? Was there any doors in there?
Like further into the church? No, it seemed like
Yeah.
it was just a single chapel area with a bunch of oddly placed pews and then the stained glass window at the far end.
We can look for trap. Both of the houses that we've been at have had trap doors. We can look for a trap door.
Sister Raina and Lysander, it sounds like you're going to the church. Horgest, it sounds like you're going to the storehouse. Where are you going, Orno?
I'll go with Sister Raina to the church. If she's insisting on going there, bring my torch with me.
Horgest, inside the storehouse, it mostly just looks like shelves full of tools and various supplies, but also like strange things kept in quantity. Like, there's like a shelf with, nails, and things you might expect to find, like slats of wood, barrels of grain. But then there's like another shelf that has like a weird collection of things, like little like collections of crisscrossed skeletal hands, and then another shelf with just bits of detritus but neatly arranged. That's what you see at a glance. What do you do?
He chuckles and says, "Oh, my friend, you are not very good at pretending to be a village." And I'm gonna look around and see if any of this weird shit is worth anything.
Yeah, take a hunt roll.
Yeah, I don't really. I think I'll use my attunement to see if any of it's kind of metal and or precious. Oh, I got a double one. So yeah, that's wonderful.
There is on a shelf in an alcove, there is what appears to be a large barrel. How it got up on this shelf is unclear. It's a little high. And dangling out of the barrel is what is pretty transparently a fuse. What do you do?
Does it? How big is this barrel?
Probably like like half your height.
So not really big. I can't really carry it. I think I'm going to turn around and walk out very quickly.
Indeed. And you also lost all your tokens if you had any tokens because of the ones.
Fortunately, I spent them.
You spent them all. Very wise, very wise. In the church, everything's as I've described. Strangely placed pews, not in rows and weird angles. This quite dramatic stained glass and floorboards underneath, of which it feels like there's space underneath. Indeed, you heard something talking down there. What are we doing?
Looking for a trap door, and I'm really after James's roll. I'm really tempted to spin a token before all mine disappear. So while I'm looking for a trap door, I'm going to spin a token to find something of value.
Of course, you find on the ground what appears to be a holy symbol, except that it's just sort of like it's vaguely holy symbol-esque. It's mostly just a mishmash of melted gold and silver in a rough shape. But its intrinsic value is 1 gold.
What about is there a trap door? Do I find a trap door?
Roll.
Kind of 6.
Take a token. There's no trapdoor. Arnell, what are you doing?
I'm gonna hunt around and see if I can see, are the floorboards loose anywhere? Is there any way to pry one up? Maybe.
I think you can. No problem. Especially because you have a crowbar. There's a space underneath.
Any sound coming from there now? Any sign of any creature similar to the one we fought?
Make a hunt roll.
Does the crowbar count as the equipment I'm using for?
Sure.
Okay. Four.
The space underneath is very strange indeed. It appears to be like a recreation of a child's room, but like a very wealthy child. There's a bed with a silk coverlet, and there's like furniture painted in bright pastel colors. There are dolls and stuffed animals. And there's a barrel with a fuse dangling out of it.
Whatever was making whatever was talking to you, Sister Raina, appears to be gone. And Arnell,
It seems so.
I'd like to try and pull the fuse from this barrel before anything accidentally strikes a spark.
Indeed. So we'll come back to that moment. Sister Raina, what are you doing?
Is there anything about the strange arrangement of the pews and things that Sister Rina might strike a chord with her or something, because she has spent quite some time in a monastery or religious places? No.
It's like we know they're supposed to be pews, but we don't know what to do with them.
Okay, all right. So it's more like bad set design, let's say. Okay. Well, this is all very underwhelming, she says, I think, and she walks out of the church and leaves the other two still there. Yeah, I think that's kind of what she's doing right now.
I'm just standing above the hole that Arno dug through the floorboards, waiting for Arno to come back out with my torch.
I know you can pull the fuse out of the barrel. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't want to risk a spark from my torch blowing us all to kingdom come. But I think while I'm down here, I'm gonna spend a couple of tokens as well, find something of value.
While you're down here, there is a set goal. Find the heart of the tunnels, and indeed you'll see a tunnel system stretching off this space. And indeed, you have met the set goal automatically.
So
you're spending tokens.
I'm going to spend 2 tokens, but I also want to just search around and see if I can understand who did this room belong to. What, is this someone has it been used recently? Am I able to tell? Is this real, or is this part of the kind of simulation of village that just trying to see. I mean, I don't know, the torch is giving me light. Does that count as equipment for the hunt roll, or?
Sure.
Okay, good. 6.
Oh, good. Take your token. A bit of an echo from the cabin in the wilderness. There is a rug in the room.
Same rug? Is there any kind of distinctive design on it that looks?
It's not the same rug, but it is a rug.
Anything under the rug?
A trapdoor.
Lysander, Sister Raina, this place goes even deeper than we thought.
It's just me up here, old boy. Sister Raina is out probably looking for horror guests. What do you see?
Another trapdoor under the floor this time.
Proceed with caution.
Is the trapdoor secured in any way? Is it just?
No, it can be opened.
Okay, I want to. Can't not take a look now.
Underneath the trapdoor, there is a large heart. Very big, like the size of a medicine ball. It's not moving or pumping. It's just there, sitting idle.
Connected to anything, or does it look like it's been cut out of somewhere?
It looks like it was connected indeed to goes into the earth, but the connections are withering.
I'm not an expert in whatever this is, Lysander, but I think we killed it.
You know, when you were killing it, I was thinking, I'm saying this down into the hole, that maybe we should just carry a couple chairs around with you from here on out.
Perhaps, yes.
You said you spent 2 tokens.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
There is a doll, a finely wrought, like it's almost like a little clockwork, a little clockwork person, which is worth 2 gold, sitting on a little shelf or on a little stand in the room.
Okay, I'll tuck that away and make no mention of it.
Horgus, what are you doing right now?
I think Haragast has decided that the statue was telling the truth and wants to go to have a look in the mill, but be very cautious about it and see if there's anything there that's not explodey or just junk.
Inside the mill, it is a windmill. The windmill portion doesn't connect to anything. There is a pulverizing stone, a very simple like stone in a track where you'd put the grain to pulverize it. That's not connected to the windmill at all. But there is a wildly complex set of gears and springs and mechanics that attach to the wheel.
I think I'd like to inspect it and see if there's anything in this like weird place that I can like sell as an idea, even if it was made, you know, is there anything useful that I can, I'm just going to loot the place basically.
As soon as you lay a hand on the mechanism, it just starts falling apart. Things just falling off of it. The gears don't even connect to anything.
I guess I'll look for a loot amongst the corpse of this mill then.
Make a hunt roll.
I guess construction again would be, I'll look for
Sure.
any hidden. I got a double 6.
Take a token. There's no rhyme or reason to this place. It is as if someone understood the basic concept of what happens in this place and then tried to recreate it using very imperfect knowledge.
I guess I'll spend my token to find something useful then, while I'm looking at this ridiculous mechanism.
There is one particular gear that appears to be made of a precious metal. Precious gold gear worth 1 gold.
I think Haragast will just laugh at it and say, this place is ridiculous.
Sister Reyna, the houses are starting to fall apart. Roofs are just collapsing in on themselves, but not dramatically, just like a strong wind causes it to crumble. The place is crumbling. It's not going to be much within an hour or so.
I think she kind of turns around to the entrance of the church and calls out to the others there. Everything is crumbling, falling down here. It's as if the wind will just make it all fall apart.
The stupid place is dying. Is the statue crumbling as well, or is that actually staying?
No, the statue's standing. Yeah.
I'm gonna head to the statue. Come on, or no, this place is falling apart.
Let's take a look at that storehouse. We're still short on food.
There's
Horgas-
nothing useful in there, my friend. It's all fake nails and skulls and random things arranged as if they're for a purpose. But like everywhere else in here, it's a bunch of junk.
in that case, I suppose we'd better figure out how we can move this statue.
I could probably make a kind of anti-grav thing by using rest to transfer unfall onto something. If we put the statue on, and basically, if I had enough time, we could make it float.
It could be the sort of thing you have to come back and with a team of laborers to perhaps do. But yeah, there's really nothing else. A sail from the windmill just falls, collapses down. That wall's intact, that little 2-foot wall.
I might take a piece of it as a keepsake.
You'd have to really go at it with a pick or something. Do you have something like that?
Can I crumble the mortar using geomancy?
Yeah, that works. Maybe it might be a memento for Hearthfire too, I suppose. This is the end of the adventure. If anyone has anything they want to spend their leftover hunt roll tokens on.
I would.
Yeah, if I have them, I might as well.
Yep.
What I
And
can.
I think I would spend them. Wasn't there some gems attached to the statue, or did Horgus?
Yeah, Horgus got all those. Okay. Yeah, Horgus plopped all those off.
So I'll go back to I'll go across the street, I guess, back to the house that had all the chairs in it, and just look in there before, like, holding up a wall with one hand, looking in.
Yeah, you could just take silver or just gold coinage up to equal to your equal to the amount of tokens you have left. There's no point in getting into the individual things.
Okay. We never figured out the set goal though, right?
It became irrelevant. So
Yeah.
And by the time you're all done, there's not much left except for the wall, the statue, and just a bit of rubble and detritus.
Well, that was weird.
Yes,
Just a day in the life. Just a day in the life for a guest.
I think we were very lucky. I don't understand what happened, but it seems like we came through it.
The most important thing. Sorry.
I'm still. These lands seem to be full of these pretenders and some mysterious but not so mysterious events, and it's all still very unclear to me. I'm still not sure whether anything that we've seen is actually mysterious and supernatural, apart maybe from the speaking statue, but that was responsible for that.
I think Hargest will turn to Sister Rainer and say, "One thing's always true, sister. There's always something in this world that will try and take you as its trophy."
Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and do Hearthfire. So we have a couple of sort of floating treasures. One is the ledger, which is worth 1 gold to the authorities or 2 gold to the family who might not want the Bracken family, who may not want their father's treacherous behavior and transactions to be known to the authorities. And so you have to return to the Brackens anyway to collect your bounty for Sindhu. Don't forget that. You get a gold for that as well. And so which option are you going to go with?
I would argue for giving it to the family, selling it back to the family. Personally, I have no faith that the authorities will do anything useful with the information. So
Also, they didn't tell us that Sindhu was a beast bitten, so they kind of like screwed us over. So I think they should pay for that.
That my background is my family was formerly nobility in Levesti, so I might be able to use my my family background to try to make this the deal so that it doesn't blow up in our faces.
So everyone has gold from Sindhu, and given the justifications you've used, you will be able to sell the ledger to them for a hefty bonus to collecting the bounty, worth 2 gold. So how are we going to divide that up? Who needs it?
With my tokens, I think my burdens are pretty much. I'll have some to stash. So if somebody needs it more,
I'm a bit skint, to be honest.
So is that Horgus taking 1 then?
I'm fine with that.
What about the other?
I'm all for splitting the shared treasure. Arnell's holding that clockwork doll, and I think the crown, maybe I'll split with Lysander, since we kind of shared in the goal of taking that.
Returning the statue is worth 2 gold, assuming that you are able to mount a small party to go do that. You can just say that you did. And yeah. Says everyone, how's that getting divided up?
So, but the shared stuff we have is the head, the ledger, and the statue.
Yes, the head's just a flat 1 for everybody, and then
Okay.
the ledger's 2, the statue's 2, so that could be 1 apiece.
That could be 1 each.
And then I think that's and the crown. Unless Arnell and Lysander are splitting that, not telling the others.
The idea that if we evenly split the statue and the ledger, we get 1 each.
Right.
Seems fair to me.
And what about the crown?
Well, it won't split 4 ways very easily, so I'm happy to split it with Lysander, or we can, if we can add it to the pile, and if he thinks we should share it with Sister Raina and Horagest, I'm not.
Can always keep it.
I think Haragast made it clear it's dangerous and he doesn't want anything to do with it, so he doesn't want any party in that.
Okay,
I almost think I don't know. It was a sorceress queen. It may be something that you want to hold on to. Arno might want to hold on to. It may be able to unlock his own curse. I don't know if you think you could go that line with it and use it like later on.
What about everybody else's burdens? Are you able to meet your burdens?
yeah, between the clockwork doll and the 4 gold I recovered, I've meet my burdens and come away with an extra coin for my hoard.
Very good. Let's just go character by character then. So, Sister Raina, do you have enough gold to meet your burdens?
Yes, I have 3 left over.
Fantastic. And do you have a household?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Miss Moore Manor is your
What about,
household.
let's see.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. No, I don't know. I think I don't have the household. No, not yet. No, I don't.
Oh, you don't have a household yet. Okay.
No.
You can certainly establish one if you wish. It takes off the condition if you wish and lowers your ruin
Sure.
by 1, but increases your burdens. So.
Yeah, I think I'll probably do that.
Fantastic. Let's read it. It says, you have to answer the question, what kind of household or what kind of structure or environment is your household? A small cottage, a decrepit church you are lovingly restoring, a series of tunnels belonging to the local thieves guild, something else, name and describe it.
Probably a cell at some local religious institution somewhere, where Sister Rena just has some sort of arrangement with the nuns there, that even though she's not actually a nun at this place now, she is kind of free to spend some time in meditation there or return there once in a while.
And everyone else gets to give you a memento from this journey. It could be something that was explicit in the fiction or something that's implied by it.
I think mine is that when we donated, we gave the statue back, the religious order that of the sister that it was, gave you like a very nice icon of that sister.
Should probably figure out which sister that was. Might be helpful. I didn't have anything in mind, but I'll look at Loom and see. Everybody else can do their other mementos though while I'm looking that up.
The one I'm going to give is the probably about a foot long braided lock of Sindhu's hair, where it's got the white woven in. That if you continue down this path as a bounty hunter, that would look really cool hanging on your armor.
The sister was Saint Lonetta, the patron saint of this very specific patron saint of jewelry appraisers, which explains why the statue was festooned with gemstones.
I think another memento might be one of the kind of clasps, the closing mechanism from one of the trapdoor in.
Oh yeah, yeah. Since we were doing World of Trapdoors. Very good, very good. So you have to increase your burdens by 1, but you get to lower your ruin by 1 and clear your conditions if you wish. And were there any other? I think that was all the mementos, I believe. Is there anything else you want to do with your money, Sister Rena?
I think I'm gonna think about it.
All right, for a moment, we'll go over to Horgust. Horgust, have you been able to clear your burdens?
I did. I had 6. I managed to get 6 gold together, and I have 6 burdens, including a slot for an armor that was my arm that's now gone. But I have a plan about how I'm going to replace that, which I'll do when I heal my ruin. So I have like a scene in mind for that.
Okay, you can do that now.
When? Sorry, what was that?
You can go ahead and do that.
What was that now? Sorry. Oh yeah, I think.
I'm sorry. You can go ahead and do the scene that you were going to describe to heal.
Yeah, sorry, I had a bit of a jitter in my internet for some reason. So basically, I've healed a ruin down to 4, and I want to heal another ruin. But basically, what it is a scene of me satisfying my desires, which is to have an arm, because now I have a burned stump instead of an arm, like a jade stump, and I've lost my arm. But I've had an idea from reading the mannequin book written by Garolum, that essentially I can use my staff, my cocoon and my staff. I'm going to try and grow myself an illithid arm to replace my arm. And so when the next time that the sort of the stars are in alignment, I'll be up on top of my tower, and I'll put the cocoon to my shoulder, and I'll ring my bells, and I'll speak in the language of the Fae and invoke Oa, and say that I'll find my way back if he allows me, and I'll grow my staff will transform into an arm, and I'll end up, instead of like having a mechanical arm, with a sort of illithid style wooden arm with bark and kind of moss and things on it, and bits of stone and gold in it, and that will be my new arm and my new armor.
I love it. It's great. Yeah, if you clear your burdens, you get to unmark your armor as well. That's for everyone. Fantastic. Do you have any money left over?
I have absolutely no money. I have stuff that I don't want to sell. I don't think I'm going to keep it, but I have no money.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move over to Lysander. Lysander, I sound like you were able to clear your burdens pretty well.
Oh yeah. I after clearing my burdens, I have 5 gold left, and I'm gonna stash 4 and spend 1 for carousing.
Oh, carousing. Interesting. Very good. Let's talk about carousing. This is fun. Spend 1 gold in town to get access to useful information before beginning an incursion. Useful information includes rumors, maps, and a named monster's weakness. Each time you do so, mark the first unmarked option and do as instructed. So the very first unmarked box, which you have to mark, says, ask a player to write down an adjective and reveal it to you secretly. Ask another player to write down a noun and reveal it to you secretly. Combine the adjective and noun to make the name of your character's favorite tavern in Fort Durin.
So to commemorate our second journey together, I'm going to go with Rob with the adjective and James with the noun.
You can all type it into the chat, and 3, 2, 1. We will we will see what the name of this tavern is. The Locked Urchin. The Locked Urchin is your favorite tavern in town. Please note that down. Mark that box off. And oh, I gotta get that. And that's fantastic. I have to go grab the door real fast. I'll be just a moment. Sorry, I forgot to hit record, so we missed a couple of Lysander's. So Lysander, you're storing away for Horde, and you have explained to us that you keep your money in a bookstore. What was it?
Yeah, my apartment's in the back of this book emporium there in Fort Durin, and so I've hollowed out a place to put my Horde behind a bookcase. I don't know if my favorite tavern is the Locked Urchin, but just in case.
Indeed. And you have a piece of, next time we see your character, just note that you have a piece of valuable information that you can use to your benefit. We also need to name, we probably need to name the creature, the village creature, as to put it in the bestiary. So that would be wise to do as well. Fantastic. Okay, good. You stored away for Horde. Let's go back over to Arnau. Arnau, are you able to clear your burdens?
Yeah, my burdens. I stash 1 gold in my Horde, and I think I can, because I already have a household, I can clear 1 of the 2 ruin I took. Is that right?
You can indeed, yeah. And you also get a memento. Somebody, you can name another hunter to give you a memento from the journey to add to your household.
I think Lysander was my partner in crime through most of the session there, so maybe he can give me a memento.
And
I'm
Rob,
gonna
go ahead.
I'm gonna go with one of the chairs from the village. It looks like it's wood, but it's not. It's made out of something else, and it did not dissolve. So you have one chair from the village.
Could it be like mummified, like the corpse of a chair, because it's sort of desiccated and like a sort of
Yes.
bog body?
Yes, it's the corpse of a chair.
It's good. And also, and because you're storing something away, you get to choose something from the each time thereafter list on the horde.
Oh, yeah. Let me take a look. Yeah, I think I'll go with the second one, which is which sister have you dedicated yours? Oh, actually, let me give you some more time to think about that because I wanted to work on that with my
Well,
tribe. Maybe
Yeah,
you
you can
read up
we
on
can
Loon.
we could do it another time too. Is just
Yeah.
at some point just decide what you're taking. I'll go back to Sister Rana for a moment. Sister Rana, did you have any other money to squirrel away?
Yes. So I want to free up some equipment slots.
Nice, it's 1 gold each.
So I need a shopkeeper.
Ah, very good.
And so my suggestion is their name is Francis Toe.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking that they need a secret, right? That at some point might come into play, and kind of going on this thing that Cicerina seems to find herself in a world in which it seems increasingly unclear whether there's lots of kind of fake mysteries or fake occult phenomena, or they're actually really real mysteries. And so maybe the shopkeeper is a member of a local network of skeptical scholars of the occult. So there seems to be something like this going on.
Nice. Okay, good. So we have a shopkeeper. If we see Sister Rana again, I'll note that before we begin play. And very good. Anything else, Horagast? You all good to go? Sounds like Lysander's good to go.
Surprisingly, our guest is still alive.
Yeah. That one. I mean, there's basically one critical moment, right? That sort of happened. And yeah. Okay. So in that case, I think we're probably pretty wrapped up unless there's nothing else.
Yeah, I think I'll do one quick flashback.
Okay, which one is it?
Narrate a flashback showing a personal triumph related to your background.
Oh, very good.
So I think we just see a sort of a youthful Arnau taking his father's sword down from above the fireplace as he prepares to join a kind of muster of soldiers that has come through the village where he lived, and his father went off to war some years before and never returned. But yeah, he takes this weapon and kind of proudly goes off to join this this gathering of troops where they're recruiting, villagers and farmhands and stuff to be foot soldiers in some kind of war. And yeah, Arnau goes off with a kind of proud expression on his face, not knowing that what awaits him is not going to be a happy or triumphant experience.
Fantastic. We have some time for stars and wishes. So stars, things you enjoyed about the Croatoa, could be both sessions, and wishes are things that you hope to see maybe for your character next time, or anything at all, really, I suppose. Who wants to go first?
I think star for the, attempting to help someone led us into danger. That seems very very appropriate, and definitely a big star for like Horagast taking that huge risk on the ritual to get rid of he who walks among the stones, get him off our back. And I'm a wish would be like that thread comes back to Horagast at some time in the future, maybe.
It's an intriguing thread for sure. I feel like there's something there. I feel like something has to happen with it.
Yeah, I was going to add, I really like that the conversation with the godling with Horagast, because I was getting the feeling that Horagast is willing to do business. It's like an interview, right? It's like tell me what you're about. Do you have a pamphlet? it was just so creepy, right? It's just so creepy. And I thought the floor was gonna be wiped with us. I thought that was it, attacking a godling. But that scene, yeah, that's pretty burned in my mind.
I'm a bit concerned this is going to turn into the between, and he's going to come back with a bunch of ambers.
Yeah, we never even finished that particular adventure. I'm curious to see if that ever something happens with that. Stars for me, I really like the there was something about this last encounter in the village that, because it's essentially just, well, so it's more than a set piece. There actually is more to do there, but it really, really came down to the order you did things and the choices you made. And depending on how you had approached this, like, it could have turned out differently. It was very, very OSR in that sense, like, because the set goals were like kind of the way I did the set goals, it was very it was just like this sort of two basic sort of like kind of like problem solving things in the village, right? But the tricky thing is you're also paranoid, and and it's telegraphed right away that you're in some kind of trap, right? And so it kind of, it's interesting to watch everyone's reaction to it and sort of how you approach it. It's not a particularly difficult encounter under any circumstance, but there is a way of like auto solving the encounter. Like, you could have, if you had built the snare, you could catch the creature, and that would change the nature of the encounter, right? And change the nature of the outcome. You just happen to fight it and kill it. But there's an outcome where you didn't kill it, and it goes away after a round, right? And then you have to keep dealing with it, right? So that because you would have only got one shot at the creature, you just happened to hit with your one shot, right? So I just think it was really kind of interesting that, like, because of the sort of built-in paranoia of the whole 2 sessions, once the situation was over and there's really no more danger, you all continued to act like there was danger, rightfully so. And that was just interesting to watch as a sort of like interesting dynamic, even after the statue told you that it was all cool. But yeah, it's intriguing.
When the wall came down, I think I mean, personally, I was torn to like make a dash for the wall, jump over it before it goes back up. But before this place is resetting is what I was thinking. But I felt like there was something else we needed to like sort out.
I think for me, I mean, the whole thing started to the whole kind of classical feel of this very careful way of going, like, danger lurking behind every little thing, and very like the kind of this tense situation transferring to the players being extremely
there was nothing
careful.
super heroic about this at all. Like, there was nothing heroic about any of this.
And on the other hand, also, and so for me, with the character I was playing, it also was kind of this interesting tension between the way that I interpreted her to be more like this kind of pragmatic, just go ahead and do things, but then again also not foolish. So I found that interesting. For me, it was interesting to see because this kind of combination of horror and investigation somehow does work, of course. And I think for me, it was very interesting to see this. But for me, often I have some trouble with doing this in kind of a very theater of the mind kind of style. For me, in this kind of situation, I think for me, it's always great to have like visual references and stuff, or maps or whatever. And so, but it was interesting to see how Trophy works with this kind of horror plus investigation situation, very open. And those 2 sets that were very different in a certain sense, but then had a kind of similar. I think it was interesting to see also from all of the players how this kind of very cautious approach from the little hut in the woods transferred also to the way that we engaged with the village. I think that was interesting to see.
What I thought was interesting was how the one time you didn't show any paranoia or fear, which was helping the young woman on the road, that was the exact right time to show like skepticism and fear. I thought that was intriguing.
I think my star was just the whole thing. Both sessions just had this really classic OSR, like pared back kind of feel to it, and it reminds me of some of the games like years ago. I had a GM who liked that style, and it just sort of took me back, and I really enjoyed it. And I felt like Trophy was a much better system to do that kind of thing than some of the other, and I just it really felt good. I also enjoyed how there was something there's always something vaguely funny about a certain type of horror. It's not funny, like funny ha, but there's this kind of like grim amusement to it. And I quite enjoyed that we managed to find it funny without descending into comedy or becoming, getting too gonzo. It felt amusing, but it was also like scary as well. And that's quite an interesting combination. And yeah, it just wishes it'd be good to come back again at some point and see how I go. And I just want to see, it'd be good to see everyone else have another go. It's good to see these characters maturing and see how many sessions like they can go and see how they travel.
I was going to say, without Oron, or without He Who Walks Among Stones being transported to another dimension and possibly pissed about that, these two sessions are intriguing because they have like no bearing on the world. Like there's no, it's just like a completely, I mean, and maybe a little bit with the Brackens, but like it's like not like the kind of fantasy that like has any kind of like portent or significance beyond just what it was, which I find really, really intriguing. And it does feel very OSR in that sense. There was nothing epic about any of this, it was all just grimy people doing grimy things,
Could we name this village? Can we work in Mimic? Because it's almost like we were inside of a Mimic village or a I like the fly trap, but
yeah, indeed. We do have to name this thing.
Mimictopia. That looks good. I like that, James.
Yeah, was that what we're going with?
Mimicopolis.
Mimicopolis.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, I'm not sure this is answered in the book, but is the Croatoa referring to the village or the creature? I mean, this is.
I think it's referring to just the fact that they all witnessed that there were no people there.
The Croatoa.
I think it's just an allusion to like the idea of a missing community more than.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
The creature is just referred to as the creature in the module. So yeah, and it can take many different forms. The thing that's the same no matter how you structure it based off the tables that are there to do so, is that the village is a trap. So that's the kind of main thing. But fabulous. Is there anything else before we go?
I don't think so. Not for me.
Oh, that
Very
was
well
great.
then. I'm going to stop this record. It was very, very fun to play with you all. I had a great time. I'm just going to stop the recording.